Hello out there in YouTube land, welcome to the OKGoodReview channel. And today, guys, we are taking a look at a figure I never, ever expected to see. It is Lenia Petrovna, or as we know her, Darkstar. This is a cool character. So, all right, a little backstory here. I started reading the Champions, and this is one of Ghost Rider's earliest sort of teams. Back when he was shooting fire from his fingertips. And his powers were quite a bit different back then than they are now. Actually, in fact, he was really not that great of a character. But he was teamed up in a book that was actually meant to just be the X-Men on a road trip kind of a thing. And he was teamed up with a bunch of other people, including Black Widow. So that is where Lenia Petrovna came in, because they were doing this kind of funky thing with Black Widow and Red Guardian and all those people. And she was one of the people that was sort of in that circle. And she had psychic energy. She had this... She was arguably as powerful as Scarlet Witch, if they would have continued to develop her. But she had these cool psychic powers that would just bend reality, like she had telekinesis and just all this ESP stuff. And she was just a great character, but I think she was in a lot of ways the archetype for Scarlet Witch, because here's Ursa Major, because they this is so weird. Look at this, all this Ursa Major stuff. Wow, there's a lot of it too. Okay. I think one of these times, so we've got all these, this is just part of the Build-A-Figure stuff I have. I think one of these times I'm just going to build, we've been talking this for a while, me and the star of the channel, just building a super figure with just random Build-A-Figure parts. But that aside, anyway, she had all this really nifty psychic, all these nifty psychic powers. And she was just a really cool character. I was so thrilled when they put her in Champions. And she also had some mental issues. She actually started as a villain as well. But she had some mental issues. Again, we're looking at really Scarlet Witchy stuff here. And eventually a lot of the characteristics of Darkstar wound up, I think, being ported over to Scarlet Witch. Now, I don't know the exact timelines. I could be wrong there. That's just my thoughts based solely on when I came across Darkstar. But she was just a really cool figure. You might even have some interesting Jane Grey type aspects to her as well. So she has this cool black and yellow motif. I still don't understand why they didn't develop this character more. She was, I think, one of the standouts of a book that honestly wasn't all that great. The initial Champions. And I think the book kind of struggled too to really get its identity. Like, they brought Spider-Man in at one time and just had all kinds of stuff going on with that. Spider-Man, Black Widow is kind of the Misfit Island with that first Champions for a while there. But we've got some hands. We've got almost like she could be holding something, but I don't know what. She didn't have weapons. She was, like Scarlet Witch in that regard. We have a closed fist, but she didn't really punch anything either. So this is kind of, I think, this is what we're going to go with. Just kind of her getting ready to sort of cast some sort of magic. Turn this hand a little bit though. Yeah, we'll do this sort of a spellweaver thing. And like most of the Marvel Legends characters that are females, she is very light. Very light. So, I don't know if we're going to be able to get her standing out here. This one I don't... Oh, there we go. This one I don't... I'm not sure where I am a displayer. She's part of this Ursa Major wave, which also had Ironheart. Ironheart, I have a spot for. Darkstar, I really don't. But this is such a cool character. We will never, I don't think, ever see another figure of her again. This character basically started and then, in a lot of respects, just stopped in the 70s. If you can imagine that. So it's been a really long time for us to get to this point. Now, there's the typical articulation points. The paint job is really good. The head joint is loose, but that's not really the end of the world. There's very limited rotation here just because of her hair. Here's kind of where this expression on her face that I don't love. It's kind of like she's, I don't know. It almost looks like she's rolling her eyes up a little bit. The face structure is pretty good. This is such a, she's one of those characters I couldn't help but feel sympathetic for. She was just this hugely, potentially powerful figure that just had some severe control problems. And, like Scarlet Witch, if you watch the Scarlet Witch series, she got into some situations where that lack of control sort of, worked against things a bit. But she was, I think she was one, to me, she was one of the Marvel characters. I think what happened realistically with her was they made her too powerful and they couldn't figure out, really what to do with her because she didn't have any weaknesses that could be particularly exploitable. Which is a problem if you're writing superheroes, writing comic books and that sort of thing. If you make the characters too powerful, then they can literally control the action almost on a whim. And so there's no actual danger. You can't create any sort of dangerous sort of thing for them. There's no scenario that they couldn't just easily get out of. And that's, I think, what happened with this character quite a bit is they made her and she had just this crazy amount of psychic force and they couldn't from there quite figure out what to do with her. So they basically just wound up shuffling her off and she was never heard from again, which is a pity because it would have been awesome if she would have just wound up getting her own book. That would have been really cool. Just kind of her journey. But they did wind up taking a lot of elements in that, and they just showed up other than in Darkstar. They showed up in a lot of other areas. But to me, this is a really striking character, I think. In sort of the design here. It's a little plain, it's a little bit boring. The star kind of reminds me a bit of the Pittsburgh Steelers. maybe the uniform does actually as well. Just that whole black and yellow thing. The headband is cool, but I don't know, maybe they just decided that they had a finite audience for female characters and they couldn't keep going with her. I mean, a lot of her stuff, you could make the case that it's covered by Jean Grey as well. So it's hard to say. they didn't really start developing Captain Marvel, who you could also have some, I think, probably some similarities with, until really the 90s. So 20 years, not quite 20 years after Darkstar. So I think there's a lot of Darkstar. I think to me is just more of a Genesis character, and I really wish they would have kept going with her, but possibly. So this was the height of the Cold War as well, and I think they were really, really reluctant to make too many powerful Soviet type characters as well. So I think there was really quite a bit of things going on with why she didn't ever ascend to to some of the lofty heights that other characters did over time. But I loved her. She was great. She was one of my favorite characters in that first Champions book, which honestly is not a great book. You had Iceman and Angel were supposed to be going on this buddy trip together. That was the premise. And then it wound up being this huge team with, I think Hercules was in it at one time, and Black Widow, and it really suffered from them quite not knowing what they wanted to do with it, I think. And, part of the other problem with having a team, and the Avengers runs into this a lot also, you have to have a threat that is large enough to demand a team. It has to constitute a threat so big that you need to have multiple powers in order to stop it. And it's, I think, a little bit hard for me to say that a lot of the scenarios in Champions was the case. I mean, they did seem like they had a lot of fun hanging out on the West Coast. And they did play around with Ghost Rider a little bit. Ghost Rider, they really could have kept pushing as well, and instead they elected not to do that. And I think it's just because you got a whole bunch of narratives that really, really got confused. A lot of the stuff you need a really clear, defining vision, and oftentimes they didn't necessarily have it. Even in Spider-Man, for my money, the greatest comic book character ever, there was still a lot of wavering. I'm reading through the early episodes of Spidey, so from the 60s on, and there's just a lot of wavering with Spider-Man. A lot of his identity is coming slowly. It's not this is our character, this is what he does. It's a lot of wishy-washy back and forth, and a lot of agonizing and stuff. And I mean, it's kind of interesting to see some of that stuff, just how different it is than modern comic books, because had Spider-Man been released in that form, I think in modern day, it probably would not have gone anywhere near to be the success that it was, even with that incredibly great design of the character. So, but anyway, that all aside, the only time that I'm aware of that Darkstar has ever been made a figure, it probably will never come again. This is in the Ursa Major wave, for the Build-A-Figure, and I strongly encourage you, if you're interested in this character at all, definitely. So that the first, I forget how many episodes of the Champions before they canceled the series, that is out in an Epic collection. Strongly encourage you to read that. It may be a little challenging at times, I'll be honest with you, but this character plays a significant part in it, almost steals the entire thing. And so I encourage you to do that. And if you like this character, or if you're into Marvel history or anything like that, if you see it, grab it, because I don't think we're going to see a lot of them, and I also don't think we'll ever see it again. But there you go, the Marvel Legends Darkstar, Lania Petrovna. If you did enjoy the look at this, please give us the old thumbs up. Hit the red subscribe button if you've not done so already. If there is a blue notification bell and comments available and you care to use those, please feel free to do that. Whether or not, come follow us on our Twitter feed, where updates to the channel are made by myself when they happen. And of course, you can find Twitter exclusive content such as display shots. I don't know where I'm going to put this figure yet. I need to I need to get that sorted out, I think. I need to figure out where she's going to go. I have no space. I have no space. There's another figure in this wave, Ironheart. Look for that video as well. I did have a space for her, but Darkstar, I don't know. I don't know where she's going to go. So I gotta find somewhere cool though. She definitely deserves that. Great character. I just wish they would have continued. But here it is, last look. Lenia Petrovna, Darkstar. We will see you all next time. Bye-bye.